She sued me for $78,000. My own aunt, the woman who was supposed to love me like a daughter. She stood in court with a straight face, said I owed her money for raising me, for food, for rent, even for toilet paper. I just sat there, frozen. The same woman who had taken every penny from my mom's life insurance now wanted more. From me. The judge turned to me. Do you have anything to say before we proceed with the claim? I opened my folder. One by one, I placed the papers down. Receipts, bank statements, proof she had spent over $100,000 from my mother's account. Money meant for me. I took a deep breath, then placed the last item, a credit card statement, opened in my name. When I was 17, maxed out, her face changed, just for a second, but I saw it. The panic. She thought I'd never find it. The room went silent. Now, you're probably wondering how we got here. Why would a woman sue the orphan she raised? And why did the orphan come prepared like a damn lawyer? Well, it started 12 years ago, the night my mother died. I had no idea then that my life was about to become a very quiet kind of hell, and that one day I'd be the one turning the tables. Before we dive into everything, tap that subscribe button if you believe justice sometimes needs a little help. Would you forgive someone who raised you while stealing from you? Or would you fight back? Let me know in the comments, because this story, it's just getting started. My name is Emily Carter. I was 13 when my mom passed away. It was cancer, the kind that creeps in fast and doesn't care how hard you pray. One month she was cooking my favorite lasagna. The next she couldn't get out of bed. She was everything to me. She worked 2 jobs. She never missed a school concert. She always smelled like cinnamon and lavender. When she was gone, everything else disappeared with her. No more laughter, no more home, no plan, no money, just me. A scared 13-year-old kid with a plastic bag full of clothes and a caseworker with too much coffee on her breath. That's when Valerie showed up. My mom's sister. She cried real tears in court, told the judge she'd raise me like her own, that she'd honor my mom's memory. She looked like a savior. And yeah, for the first week, it felt that way. She bought me a new jacket, made pancakes on Saturday, let me sleep in. But then, things started to shift. She stopped smiling, stopped calling me sweetie, started handing me lists, chores, rules, no phone after 8, no second servings at dinner, no talking back. Chloe, her daughter, got everything. I got leftovers. I didn't say anything at first, because deep down I was still hoping this was just temporary, that she'd warm up again, that I'd earn my place in the family. I even made excuses for her. She's tired, she's stressed, she's doing her best. But by the time I turned 15, I wasn't her niece anymore. I was just a maid who happened to sleep upstairs. I cleaned, I cooked, I stayed quiet. Because what else could I do? Where would I go? Nobody wants a teenager, especially one with no parents and no money. But even back then, even when I felt invisible, I kept one promise to myself. I would get out. I would survive. I would never owe her a damn thing. And guess what? That promise came with a plan. A plan she never saw coming, ready to hear it by 16. I could fold laundry with my eyes closed. I could make dinner for 4 without looking at a recipe. I knew how to unclog a sink, patch up drywall, even clean a toilet with baking soda and vinegar. Valerie trained me well, not in love, not in trust, but in survival. Chloe didn't lift a finger. She had an iPad before I had my own toothbrush. Every time I asked for something simple like a school notebook or deodorant, Valerie would sigh and say things cost money. She said I should be grateful I had a roof over my head, so I kept quiet. But the truth was, she wasn't paying for anything. She was living off the money my mom left behind. I didn't know all the details back then, but I knew something felt wrong. I once overheard her bragging to a friend on the phone, said she was smart to take the girl in because of the monthly checks and the payout from life insurance. That hit like a punch in the stomach. I wasn't family, I was income. From that moment, something shifted inside me. I started saving, scraps of birthday money, tips from helping neighbors shovel snow. I even got a part-time job at a local bakery. It was under the table, minimum wage, but I felt powerful, like I had some tiny sliver of control. The bakery owner, Maria, was the first adult in years who looked at me like I mattered. She let me take home leftover bread. She let me study during slow shifts. Sometimes she would sneak a sandwich into my backpack without saying a word. It was the kind of kindness that made me cry in the walk-in freezer. But I never let Valerie find out. If she knew I had money, she'd take it. She always did. So I hid it in an old shoebox under the loose floorboard in my closet. I told myself it wasn't much, but it was mine. And someday, it would be my way out. That someday came faster than I thought, but not in the way I expected. Because right around my 17th birthday, Valerie did something that changed everything. Want to know what it was? It was tax season. I remember because I had just come back from the bakery, smelled like cinnamon rolls and burned coffee. Valerie was sitting at the dining table with a stack of papers. She looked annoyed, waved me over without even saying hi, told me to sign something, no explanation, just shoved a pen in my hand. I glanced down. It was a credit card application. In my name. I froze. She raised an eyebrow and said it was just for emergencies. Said I owed her that much for everything she had done. I didn't sign it, but I didn't tear it up either. I just walked away. The next month, a shiny envelope arrived in the mail with my name on it. Inside was a credit card, already activated, already used, $500 spent at a home goods store. I didn't buy a single thing. When I confronted her, she didn't even deny it, just laughed, said I was under her roof. That meant everything in it was hers, including my name. That night, I cried in the bathroom, not because of the card, but because I felt completely powerless. It was like no matter how hard I tried to escape her control, she was always one step ahead. So I did the only thing I could think of. I started documenting everything. I kept the credit card statements, took pictures of receipts, wrote down conversations. I didn't know what I would do with it yet. But deep down, I felt like this was the beginning of something. Like maybe one day, all of this would matter. Maybe one day, I would finally have a voice. And that day, it came sooner than I thought. Because something happened at school that changed everything. Want to guess what it was? It started with an essay, just a regular assignment. Write about someone who changed your life. Most kids wrote about a coach, or their grandma, or some movie character. I wrote about Maria, the bakery owner. I wrote about the way she treated me like a person. Not a burden, not a check, just a girl who worked hard and liked cinnamon bread. I didn't think it was a big deal, just words, but my English teacher, Miss Daniels, pulled me aside after class. She asked if it was real, the part about my mom, the part about living with my aunt. I nodded. She didn't push, didn't make a scene, just told me she was there if I ever needed anything. I almost cried right there. No one had ever said that to me, not like they meant it. A few weeks later, she gave me a flyer. It was for a scholarship program, full ride, room, board, books, everything. She said I should apply. I laughed, told her I didn't even think college was in the cards for me. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "It is now." So I applied, late at night, on a computer in the school library. My hands were shaking the whole time. But I did it, and 2 months later, I got the letter. I read it 3 times just to be sure. I had been accepted, fully funded, out of that house, out of that life. Valerie was furious, said I was ungrateful, said I owed her my success, that without her I'd be nothing. I didn't say anything, just folded the letter, slipped it into my pocket, and started packing. I had no idea that leaving her house was only the beginning, because she wasn't done with me yet. Want to hear how she tried to ruin it all after I left? Moving out felt like winning the lottery. Except the prize wasn't money. It was freedom. For the first time in years, I could breathe. The dorm smelled like cheap carpet and instant noodles. But to me, it was heaven. No chores waiting, no cold stares, no one telling me I didn't belong. I decorated my side of the room with pictures from thrift store magazines. I hung a small photo of my mom next to my bed, and I promised her I'd make her proud. Classes were hard. I was behind in some subjects, but I didn't care. I studied. I worked part-time at the student cafe, and I finally felt like I had a shot at something real. But of course, Valerie couldn't let me have that. It started small. She texted me out of nowhere, said I owed her for everything she did, that I shouldn't forget who gave me a home. I ignored it. Then came the emails and the voicemails, some guilt-tripping, some straight-up threats. She said I would pay her back one way or another. I didn't respond. Then, out of the blue, a letter arrived from a law office. I thought it was a mistake until I read the first line. Valerie was suing me, claiming I owed her $78,000, said it was the cost of raising me, that I had taken advantage of her kindness, that without her, I would have ended up in foster care or worse. My hands were shaking. I sat on my bed for a full hour just staring at that paper. Then I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I knew what was coming. She thought she had scared me, but she had no idea what I'd been saving. She didn't know about the shoebox. She didn't know about the folder. She didn't know I had receipts, screenshots, statements, and one little piece of plastic that would flip everything upside down. Want to know what was on that card? I took a deep breath, pulled the shoebox out from under my bed. The same one I had hidden years ago. Inside was everything. Copies of receipts, photos of grocery bags with my mom's name printed on the tags, printouts of every single transaction Valerie made from the insurance account, all under my mom's name, all spent on things for her and her daughter, designer handbags, a new TV, a vacation to Florida. I never got invited to, and then there was the credit card, the one in my name, the one I never applied for. She opened it when I was 17, used it for months, and when I turned 18, she stopped, because now it would be illegal. But I had the statements, I had the dates, I even had the envelope it came in, still sealed, still addressed to me. I organized everything, labeled it, put it in a folder, and then I made a copy. Actually, I made 3, one for the court, one for my lawyer, and one just in case Valerie decided to pull something else. I knew she would try to twist things, make it sound like I was just bitter, that I was making it up. But facts don't lie, and the numbers told a story louder than any words ever could. Still, I was nervous. She had been playing the role of the caring aunt for so long. What if the court believed her? What if they thought I really did owe her for raising me? That fear stayed with me, right up until I met someone who changed everything. Someone who knew Valerie and had a story of their own to tell. Want to hear what they said about her? I didn't expect to find an ally, but sometimes the universe hands you exactly who you need. It was during a prep meeting with my lawyer, Aiden Thomas. He was young, sharp, and spoke like he knew how people like Valerie operated. He asked me a simple question. Has anyone else ever seen how she treated you? I told him about Maria and Miss Daniels, and then, almost like a reflex, I mentioned something Valerie once said in passing, that she had taken in another relative years ago, a cousin from her husband's side. Aiden paused, asked me to repeat that. Then he opened his laptop and started typing. 5 minutes later, he showed me a name, Tyler, 28, former foster kid. And guess what? He had filed a complaint against Valerie almost 10 years ago. Said she took him in as a teenager, used his identity to open a store credit line, kicked him out when he started asking questions. The case was dropped because he aged out of the system. No support, no lawyer. But Aiden found his contact info, and Tyler picked up on the first ring. The moment I said Valerie's name, he sighed, said he was wondering when someone would come asking about her. We talked for over an hour. He told me everything, the fake kindness, the manipulation, how she treated him like trash the moment the checks stopped coming. It was the same story, same playbook, different victim, and now it was happening again. Only this time, she picked the wrong person. I asked Tyler if he'd be willing to talk to my lawyer. He said yes, said he'd do anything to make sure no one else ever went through what we did. It felt like something had shifted, like this fight wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every kid who had been used, every teen who had been silenced. I walked out of that meeting taller, stronger, because now I had something Valerie didn't, truth, and people to back it up. But even with all that, I still wasn't ready for what she tried to pull next, because her final move, that one was dirty. Want to know how low she really went? I thought she'd stop after I got a lawyer, after Tyler came forward, after I sent my response to the court with every single piece of evidence I had. But no, Valerie wasn't done. She had one more move, one more trick up her sleeve. She called my job, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Each time, she asked for HR, told them I was being sued. that I had committed fraud, that I was dangerous. I only found out because my supervisor called me in, sat me down, said they received a few disturbing voicemails about me. I was mortified. I explained everything, the lawsuit, the family history, the truth. Luckily, my boss believed me. She said they had heard stories like this before, that they wouldn't let it affect my position unless it escalated. But the damage was done. Whispers started. People looked at me differently in the break room. I felt exposed, violated. She didn't just want money. She wanted control, even from miles away. She wanted to ruin everything I had built. So I changed my number, blocked her email, filed a cease and desist through my lawyer. And for the first time, I realized something. She wasn't powerful. She was scared. Because people like Valerie, they only win if you stay quiet. And I wasn't quiet anymore. But just when I thought I had seen it all, something happened that made everything public. And I mean really public. Wanna guess what got posted online? It started with a Reddit post, not mine, someone else, a user from the same town. Title said something like, "My aunt took in my cousin for money, and now she's suing her for 78 grand. At first I thought, no way this is real. But the more I read, the more I realized it was about me. Someone had posted our story, the lawsuit, the details about the credit card, even a blurry screenshot of the court filing. I had no idea who leaked it. Maybe someone from the legal office, maybe Tyler, maybe a friend who just couldn't stay silent. But it didn't matter. The internet did its thing. Within 2 days, the post hit the front page. Thousands of comments. People were outraged, sharing their own stories, calling Valerie every name in the book, digging up old social media posts, screenshots of her vacation photos during the time she claimed she was struggling to raise me. People found her Facebook, her Instagram, even Yelp reviews about her business, the court of public opinion. It was not in her favor. I stayed quiet, didn't comment, didn't confirm anything. Just watched it unfold like a movie I didn't even have to direct. Then came the DMs. Strangers telling me to stay strong, law students offering to help. Even a woman who ran a nonprofit for abuse. And survivors offered free counseling. It was surreal, but also healing. For years I felt like I was shouting into a void. Now the void was shouting back, louder than ever. And they were on my side. Valerie tried to do damage control, posted a long status calling me ungrateful. Said I was brainwashed, said I had been coached, but no one bought it. The receipts were too clear, the lies too loud. She started deleting posts, shutting down accounts. But it was too late. The internet never forgets. And neither did I, because now it was almost time for court, and I was ready. But I had one more surprise for her. Want to know what she saw the moment she walked into that courtroom? The courthouse was colder than I expected. Fluorescent lights, tile floors, the kind of place where time slows down and everyone looks tired. I wore my mom's old blazer. It was a little big on me, but it felt like armor. Aiden met me outside the courtroom. He handed me a bottle of water and said, "Just breathe. You already won." I nodded, but my hands were still shaking. And then the door opened. Valerie walked in, wearing a white blouse, pearl earrings, acting like she was attending a church fundraiser instead of trying to rob her dead sister's kid. She looked around, and then her eyes landed on me. For a split second, I saw it. The flicker of surprise, the hesitation. She hadn't expected me to show up looking composed, prepared, not some scared orphan, but a woman who came for justice. She sat down across from me, didn't say a word, didn't make eye contact again. Then the clerk called our case, everyone stood, and just like that, it began. She went first. Her lawyer read the claims, said she had raised me since I was 13, said I lived in her home rent-free, used her resources, her food, her electricity. She even added that I had caused emotional stress and tension in the household. I almost laughed. Then came my turn. Aiden stood up, calm, clear, and started laying out the timeline. He showed the life insurance documents, the payments, the dates. Then came the receipts, photos, screenshots, then the credit card statements, one by one, each one hitting harder than the last. He paused, then motioned to the side. The door opened, and Tyler walked in. Valerie's face dropped. He took the stand, told the judge about his experience with her. His testimony was short, but powerful. 2 victims, 2 timelines, same pattern, same scam. The courtroom was dead silent. I looked at Valerie. She wouldn't even look up. Her lawyer started to panic, tried to redirect the argument, but the judge raised her hand. Enough. Then she looked at me and said, "Do you have anything to add before I make my ruling?" I stood, held the folder in both hands, and said, "Only one thing. I forgive her, but I won't let her win." That's when everything shifted. Want to know what the judge said next? The judge sat still for what felt like an hour. She looked through every page Aiden handed over, checked dates, cross-referenced numbers. Then she set the folder down, looked straight at Valerie, and said, "Miss Green, in my 22 years on the bench, I've seen all kinds of people try to manipulate the system. But this is one of the more shameless attempts I've seen." Valerie blinked, tried to open her mouth, but the judge raised a hand. "You used this young woman's tragedy for financial gain. You misused insurance funds, opened credit in her name, and now you want her to pay you?" She shook her head. "This court not only denies your claim, but refers your conduct to the state's fraud division for further review." Valerie went pale. Her lawyer whispered something, probably telling her not to speak. The judge turned to me. "Emily, you showed remarkable composure and strength. You've been through a lot, but you came prepared, and you stood up for yourself with integrity. That's something not many people your age can do." I nodded. My throat was too tight to speak. Then the judge said, "Case dismissed." The gavel hit. And just like that, it was over. Valerie stormed out without looking back. The courtroom cleared. I stayed in my seat for a moment, let it sink in. Aiden leaned over and said, "You did it." I finally let myself smile, not a big one, but real. Outside the building, Tyler was waiting. He gave me a nod, said, "I wish I had done what you did." I told him, "We both did something. We didn't stay silent. That counts." He smiled, then left. I walked home alone that day. No victory parade, no balloons, just me and peace. It felt strange, but good. When I got back to my dorm, there was a message from Maria. She said she saw the news online. Said she always knew I was special and that my mom would be proud. I cried, not because I was sad, but because I finally felt like I was free. And that night, I wrote a letter to my younger self, the one scrubbing toilets, faking smiles, hiding money in a shoebox. She made it. But do you want to know the hardest lesson I had to learn from all of this? You want to know the hardest lesson I learned? Freedom isn't given, it's earned. And sometimes, it's not loud, it's not fireworks. It's just a quiet walk home, a clean bed, a full breath. For so long, I thought I had to survive in silence. That being grateful meant accepting everything, even the pain, even the injustice, but that's not true. Gratitude is powerful, but so is courage. You can be thankful for what you had and still fight for what you deserve. I didn't win because I was strong. I won because I stopped pretending I was weak. And if you're watching this, and you've ever felt trapped, ever felt used, or ignored, or like your voice didn't matter, let me tell you something. It does. You matter. Your story matters, even if it's messy, even if no one believed you at first, even if you're still in the middle of it. Don't give up. Keep receipts, speak up, and trust that your truth will always be louder than their lies, because one day, someone will listen, and they won't just hear you, they'll believe you, and maybe, just maybe, they'll finally see the whole picture. So tell me, have you ever had to fight for your truth? Do you think family should be forgiven no matter what? Or are there some things you just can't let go of? I want to hear what you think. Tell me in the comments. And if this story hit you hard, if it reminded you of someone you know, or maybe even yourself, please hit the like button, subscribe for more stories like this, and don't forget to share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because healing it starts with stories, and maybe this one was just what someone else needed today.